Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I want to be talking about a subject in astrology, and it's about the best zodiac sign and perhaps what others may see as being the best as far as the zodiac sign goes. And look at this, and I think the best in terms of a zodiac sign or a supreme sign could be very subjective, and I don't know if there's really one that you could say that is the best, that stands out and surpasses the other 11. If we look at we'll take Aries. I'm going to go chronologically. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm going to say chronologically. I'm going to say in the order of the zodiac signs, starting with Aries. I'm going to talk about the signs a little bit. Now, if we look at Aries, now the best, what might be, if you're looking for somebody that's aggressive, want to be someone that's assertive and very forthright, obviously Aries would be the best sign. If you want someone that has persistent, persevering characteristics, very tenacious, and doesn't give up easily, would be Taurus. Now, if you want someone that's multifaceted, versatile, being able to talk about virtually any subject, someone about mental agility, you might look at Gemini. Cancer would be the sign that might be seen as the best from others. If you're looking for a sign that is nurturing, that is sympathetic, that shows a lot of compassion, that is very loyal and steadfast to family. If you want to look at a sign that is gregarious and extroverted, then Leo might be your best sign, somebody that's very charismatic and can grab attention perhaps easier than any of the other signs. A sign that is able to be very analytical, to be able to extrapolate data and be able to dissect things very easily, you might look at Virgo. If it's a sign that you're looking for tact, diplomacy, equality, somebody that finds equitable solutions to things, that can reconcile matters between friends perhaps, then Libra might be your favorite sign. If you're looking for someone that is, someone that's intense, a person that has penetrating insight, can see to the heart of matters, that could be Scorpio. You might look at Sagittarius as the best sign if you're looking for somebody that has unbridled optimism, expansiveness, and being able to see the bright side of many situations. If somebody that's business savvy, astute in business matters, being ambitious, that could be Capricorn. If you're looking for the sign that's innovative, that dares to be different, the sign that is not afraid to go against the norm, that doesn't always want to conform with what the average person does, then you might look at Aquarius. If you want to look at a sign that's idealistic and very pliable and adaptable to situations and tries to see the best in general situations in life, then Pisces might be the sign for you. I think when we look at this, a lot of people might look at their rising sign, sun sign, or moon sign and maybe wish they had a different one, thinking, well, I'd like to have this sign, I think that's the best. Or somebody, say, has a Pisces rising and they feel, well, Pisces is kind of could be somewhat submissive and shy and somewhat timid, and they'd say, well, I wish I had like a gregarious ascendant like a Leo, somebody that's flamboyant and somebody that kind of is more about being in the spotlight. But what people have to remember is that every sign has its negative and positive attributes associated with it. So if somebody wants to, say, have a Leo ascendant might be gregarious and outgoing and extroverted, but at the same time, Leos on the negative side can sometimes be overly proud and can be domineering in relationships, and even whether it's family, it's platonic, or a significant other, and there may, they being a fixed sign, it can be intractable in a sign that's very, maybe overly set in their ways. Now somebody says, well, let's take someone with, Taurus rising, says, well, I'd like to be Gemini rising because they're interesting, maybe a little more interesting, more multifaceted, being more adaptable, learning different, being able to learn many subjects. Now, if we look at Taurus, now Taurus can still learn a number of subjects. It just might be a little bit more methodical way. I should know because I have Taurus rising, as many of you know, that it makes, because I've stated this in a number of videos, of course. But the thing is, if somebody wishes, like for Gemini rising in that case, they could say, well, they could justify it in their mind to some degree because of the versatility associated with Gemini, as opposed to maybe a Taurus ascendant. But Gemini would lack the persistence and persevering qualities and the stick-to-itiveness that would be associated with Taurus. Another thing to look at is that sometimes people will say, okay, I wish my sun, moon, or ascendant was in this sign. Well, the thing is, somebody could have a stellium in a particular sign that they really like, and that could kind of give them some characteristics of that sign. They could have maybe some planets in that house that corresponds with that sign. If somebody says, well, I wish I had maybe a Scorpio rising, if you have like a stellium in the 8th house, that could give some overtones to Scorpio. And another thing to look at is that look at your decanates and your dwads as far as your sun, moon, and ascendant goes. Now, if you look at the sun, most of you know about the decanates. Another word for it is deacons, and what it is it's an additional flavoring that falls for every 10 degrees of your sign. Now, if somebody was born between, say, 0 degrees, they had the sun in Cancer, say, between 0 degrees Cancer and 9 degrees and 59 minutes of arc in Cancer, they would have Cancer as their decan or decadent. But if they were, say, their sun, moon, or ascendant was between 10 degrees of Cancer and 19 degrees and 59 minutes of arc of Cancer, they would have Scorpio, would be in their decadent, and they would have a flavoring of Scorpio added to their Cancer personality. Now, if they were born, say, if somebody had a sun, moon, or ascendant in Cancer between 20 degrees and 29 degrees and 59 minutes of arc in Cancer, then they would have the next water sign over, which would be Pisces, and they would have a little flavoring, a little nuance of Pisces mixed into their personality. Now, a dwad is, some of you may know, some of you may not know, is another thing which is similar to a decan or decadent. It gives a flavoring to that particular sign. Now, and for every 2.5 degrees in a person's, you could look at a person's sign, there's a dwad, and that gives a flavoring of that particular sign. So, I mean, the math, you could do the math. A sign is comprised of 30 degrees, and you divide it by 2.5, that comes to 12, or 12 signs. Now, if you look at and take somebody that has, let's say they have their sun sign in Gemini, and let's say they had their sun at 13 degrees Gemini. Now, the dwad for that is Scorpio, because because every 2.5 degrees it would fall in a different, you would get a different dwad for that particular sign. So, like the first 2.5 for Gemini would be the Gemini dwad, and then you go from you would say from 2 degrees and 30 minutes of arc to 4 degrees 59 minutes of arc, Then Cancer would be the next dwad over, and it just keeps going. Every 2.5 degrees it falls in the next sign over in order, but it starts. But when you look at a dwad in a person's sign, if you look at their sun, moon, or ascendant, the way to remember this, to figure out, easy way to remember what their dwad would be, is that the first 2.5 degrees, the dwad will fall in the same sign as whatever their sun, moon, or ascendant, and every 2.5 after it moves over to the next sign in order. So Gemini would be the first in the example I said before. Then Cancer would fall between 2 minutes and between 2 degrees and 30 minutes of arc. Between that and 4 degrees, 59 minutes of arc. And then Leo would start out at 5 degrees. They would have, say somebody was born between, they had their Gemini degree between 5 degrees and 7 degrees 29 minutes of arc. That would give them the Leo dwad. So it goes in that chronological order from that point. And that person would have a little nuance or flavoring of Leo in that example. So I guess what I'm saying is, in short, in summation, is that if a person has certain sign, or they're not, or they don't always like their sun, moon, or ascendant, it doesn't mean that they're completely they're completely out of that sign in their or influence in their particular horoscope. Now, even if somebody were to say they wanted some Scorpio element in their chart, and they say, well, okay, I don't have anything, none of my in my 3 majors, my sun, moon, or ascendant, I don't have a decadent or a dwad in Scorpio, or I don't have any 8th house planets. Well, I would also look and see if you had maybe the ruler of the 8th house in the 1st, or the ruler of the 1st house in the 8th, would give some Scorpio overtones. Or say a sun conjunct Pluto, or Mercury conjunct Pluto, or a personal planet conjunct Pluto can give some Scorpio overtones as well. So if you want to ask me, what do I think, if I was to choose a sign, what is the best sign? As I've stated before, I don't know if I go with a best sign, but I would go, as far as my personal favorite sign, I would imagine I would say Libra, because they're just so balanced as far as mentally, emotionally, and just the ability they have to kind of find a balance, their ability to be equitable and fair-minded. And I look at this sign, only of course it has its negative qualities or characteristics, because Libras can be somewhat ambivalent and have a hard time taking sides in a situation. So like I said, I don't know if you could say there is one supreme sign or one best sign, but it's all about what that person is looking for and wants in that particular sign. But the thing to remember is that there's always, with every sign, you might have, in your mind, you might look and say, though, there's an inordinate amount of positive qualities and attributes with it, but also just look at the sign and see that there are a number of negatives that are going to be with it, because I believe all 12 signs of the Zodiac have their positive and their negative characteristics connected with it, which is about equal for positive and negative. So anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment on the best Zodiac sign. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be continuing with my North Node aspect series. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.